Alright.
Okay, tonight's informative speech will be on the NFL Super Bowl. The NFL Super Bowl, right now, as we know it, I'm sure everyone has heard of the NFL Super Bowl, because it actually has become one of the greatest and biggest annual events, sporting events, television events, whatever you want to say, annually. Now, I'm going to go back a little bit and give you a brief history on this. The NFL, as we know it today, only consisted of about 8, 9, 10 teams prior to 1959. In 1959, a new league came about, and it was called the AFL. Now, the AFL consisted of 8 teams, and it actually was started as a rival competition towards the NFL, who was the only professional football league during that time. So when the NFL came about in 1959, they played their first season in 1960. And actually in 1960, they were able to secure a contract with ABC, which helped them basically stay afloat as an entity. And during the first 5, 6 years, they had moderate attendance. They did pretty well, but they were nowhere near the NFL as a rival. So in 1965, coming out of college was a fellow by the name of Joe Namath, and he was actually the top-rated collegiate at that time. And so what happened during that year was he actually chose the New York Jets, which was an AFL team, over the St. Louis Cardinals. There was an NFL team, and that actually was the first time that a high-powered collegiate actually chose the new league over the powerhouse league that was in existence. So after that time, there began an influx of major collegiate players choosing to sign with the AFL, and that actually built up its reputation, its revenue, and actually NBC picked some of their games up. And so what happened was, being at the new league, the AFL started to get more attendance and crowds and things of that nature. The NFL finally decided to challenge, or not challenge, but actually accept the challenge to play them in a championship game. Now, the first championship game between the two leagues was actually played in 1967, where the Kansas City Chiefs lost to the Green Bay Packers by a score of 35-10. The most memorable Super Bowl, well, it actually was called the NFL World Championship game, but it was coined by Lamar Hunt, who used to be the owner of the Kansas City Chiefs. He actually coined the phrase the Super Bowl around 1969, in which the Jets defeated the Baltimore Colts 16-7, and that was actually the first time an AFC or AFL championship team actually defeated the NFL team. And since then, that championship game in 1969, there have been 44 Super Bowls in all. The NFC actually is leading 23-21 in head-to-head clashes between the two in what we now know as the Super Bowl. And as I said, the Super Bowl has become an annual event that is not rivaled by any other sporting event or any other television event that we see that's annual today. And from that point, I will take any questions that you may have.
Well, out of all the times the NFC and the AFC had the Super Bowl, who won the most and what's the score so far?
Actually, I'll repeat it. The NFC is actually leading the head-to-head battles. Like I said, there have been 44 Super Bowls in all, and the the NFC 23 and the AFC has won 21 games.
Thank you.
Do you have a question?
Who holds the most Super Bowl? Who holds the record for the most Super Bowl wins in the NFL?
Cowboys, Green Bay, Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers, I believe, have 5 championships. And I think the Cowboys have 5 also.
So it's tied.
So it's actually a tie between those two for the most championships.
Pittsburgh is 5-0 in the Super Bowl, and Dallas is actually 5-9. Dallas had the most Super Bowl appearances than any team with 9, but they're tied. But Pittsburgh is 5-0 in the Super Bowl.
The actual percentage is greater for Pittsburgh. Here's a late comes in.
Giants.
With that, I guess I want to end this lecture or speech, and everybody have a good night.